What's up, Burgundy? Nice to see you this morning. Let's have that sip together. 1, 2, 3. Yum. What's up, guys? Hope everything's going well. Hope everyone's doing well. Let me know if my voice sounds too bassy. We tried tweaking some stuff really quickly. I should have spent a little bit more time and used a little bit more care with it, but we'll see how it goes. But I hope you guys are doing well this Monday. Woke up, of course, early, around 3, I think. And I'm so used to having my little lady around me. I'm used to her being awake, and chatting. And, but not this morning. She, the moderator that you see that I stream with as well, has gotten a new job and is doing some training today. And I'm very proud of her and very excited. And can't wait to hear about it when she gets off. But I just wanted to spend a brief, quick moment to let you guys know that you're not going to be seeing Sue in the chat as much because of that. But she is sorely missed, and I'm very proud of her. So now that that's out of the way, we have stories. I think I'm gonna wait on the first one that I wanted to read. It's the continuation of the trucker story. The one that's I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist. The farther you drive, the odder it gets. Ooh, spoopy. But I definitely want to wait for see if Throwaway shows up. Give him a little bit of time, so we are going to read another story first. And that one is titled Something Woke Up in Room 237. Ooh. I've always believed certain places absorb energy, not just haunted castles or graveyards, but places where a lot of people pass through. Airports, train station, hotels, especially hotel rooms. Oh, my model died. See, I used to work night security at one of the poshest hotels in Dublin City. 5 stars, marble floors, high-end clientele. That kind of place. You'd think nothing dark could touch it, but let me tell you, money doesn't stop weird shit from creeping in. It started around 2:17 a.m. I remember because I was mid-yawn, flipping through the camera feeds when the front desk patched a call through to security. A man's voice, breathless, panicked. My wife is in the bath. I think she's not breathing. I snapped upright. Me and this other guard, Mark, rushed to room 237 on the 8th floor. The hallway was dead quiet. The kind of quiet that feels wrong. Like the building itself is holding its breath. We pushed in. The guy was pacing around, soaked from the waist down. The bathroom door was wide open. I'll never unsee that moment. She was in the tub, completely still, water up to her shoulders, eyes open but not seeing. We dragged her out, tried CPR. I was counting compressions under my breath while Mark gave breaths. Her skin was cold. Like, not just chilly. It was like touching stone. I knew it was too late, but we had to try. Police arrived within minutes. The moment they stepped in, they told us to stop. One of the officers pulled me aside and said quietly, "She's been gone a while, a couple hours at least." The husband told them they'd argued earlier. He stormed out, came back, saw her in the bath, assumed she was just soaking, and went to bed. He said he only got suspicious when she didn't join him. No obvious signs of violence, no water overflow, no witnesses. They couldn't charge him, but between us, staff, cops, even the paramedics, we all felt it. That gut pull, that something's off feeling. He checked out the next morning. Quiet, calm, not a single tear. Room 237 was locked off for 3 weeks. Housekeeping deep cleaned every inch. Management said, accidents happen. Life moves on. They reopened the room like nothing happened. No priest, no sage, nothing, just fresh linens and a new bar of soap. The first person to stay in that room after the death was a woman named Liz. She was a regular corporate client, stayed at least once a month. She always asked for a high-floor room. She got 237 without knowing a damn thing. Next morning, 6:50 a.m., she's at the front desk with her suitcase, and this looked like she had seen hell. I was walking past when she said, loud enough for guests to hear, "That room is haunted. I didn't sleep a second. Something is wrong with it." She said that she kept hearing dripping of water all night, not just from the bathroom, like it was coming from the walls. At 3 a.m., the taps in the bathtub turned on by themselves, full blast. She walked in and turned them off, soaked her slippers. Then 5 minutes later, the shower started. She swore she hadn't touched anything. I'm going to move the mic up, let me mute very quickly. She said that she kept smelling something floral, like old roses but rotten, like death wearing perfume. We offered her another room. She refused. Said she was checking out for good, never came back. After that, room 237 got a reputation internally. Guests kept requesting room changes one after one night. Some didn't even last that long. There was this German businessman who called at 1:03 a.m., whispering like he didn't want someone to hear. "I think someone is in the bathroom." I asked if he saw anything. "No," he said, "but someone is coughing. A wet cough." I went up, and bathroom was empty, but the floor was damp. Towels crumpled in the corner. The toilet had been used to seat up, water moving like it had just been flushed. The guy hadn't gone in all night. He checked out the next morning without breakfast. A honeymoon couple stayed there once. The woman came down at 4:12 a.m. in just her pajamas, crying. Said that she saw a pale woman standing at the foot of the bed, dripping wet, not moving, just staring. Her husband didn't see anything, but he confirmed the room temperature had dropped 10 degrees in minutes. I checked the thermostat. It was set to 23 Celsius. The room was at 14. No windows were open. I started dreading that room. Even walking past it gave me this tightness in my chest, like I was being watched. I'd make rounds and literally speed walk past it. Once, I was reviewing CCTV around 2:20 a.m. Same time the original call had come in, and I saw something weird. The hallway camera outside 237 glitched, just for a second. But when I paused the footage and zoomed in, there was a shadow. Not a person, a shape, just outside the door. Like someone was standing there, pressed against it. I replayed it 100 times, and Mark saw it too. "It's probably a compression error," he had said. But his voice shook when he saw it. Or when he said it. Management refused to shut the room. They said that we'd get sued if we told guests, unless you see something tangible, it's superstition. So we kept assigning the room, but we started calling it the bathtub room behind closed doors. The cleaners hated it. They'd go in pairs, even when nothing moved. The mirror always fogged up on its own. Once, one of the maids, Rosa, swore she saw the words, "Don't leave me," written in the steam. But when she called her coworker over, it vanished. Let me reset my camera. I think the mic is making me look a little silly. There we go. That's more normal. Guests who stayed more than one night always complained of water sounds. Dripping, running, gurgling, sometimes crying. One guy swore his sheets were damp every morning, like someone had gotten the bed wet. Then came the worst night. 3:08 a.m., having a sip of coffee. We got a call from room 237. The guest was an old man, a solo traveler. Very logical, very composed. He said, "Someone knocked on my bathroom door from the inside, not once, 3 times. I sprinted up, and when we opened the door, the room was empty, but the lights in the bathroom were flickering. Not just flickering, buzzing. The bathtub and the bathtub faucet was trickling, just enough to hear. And that's when I noticed that there was water. Not just in the tub, it was on the floor in a straight line, like footprints leading from the bath to the bed. But no one had walked in. No one had opened the door. I put in my resignation a week later. Mark lasted a month more. He said he heard a woman humming in the elevator when he was alone. Hummed the same tune for 3 floors. And when the doors opened, no one was there. Room 237 is still open, as far as I know. But they just kept painting over the mold and turning the mattress. But someone lives there now. Or maybe something never left. Not every hotel room starts off haunted. Some of them become haunted. And I was there when it happened. Nice, I kind of like it. There was like this Stephen King movie that was pretty cool back in the day, Room 237. I don't remember what it was. I'm gonna just pen a little comment here. Let me know if the audio is too bassy. Tried something new. There we go. Just so I know, I want to make sure that you guys have a good experience. Alright. I feel like we've given a little bit of time for Throwaway to pop in, and I really want to read this story. So this is part 7 of a story that we've read all, it's previous 6 parts. And this is a really enjoyable one to me. At first, I initially thought I was gonna dislike it, but I've been like entertained. I've been curious to like where it's gonna end up, how many sections it's gonna have. So yeah, let's get started. I'm a trucker on a highway that doesn't exist. The farther you drive, the hotter it gets. It's best to limit interactions with human inhabitants of the road. While not generally dangerous, gas station employees often rotate out. Waitresses will find it difficult to remember you, no matter how often you meet. Friendly shopkeepers may swap personalities from day to day. Unless provoked, inhabitants are rarely aggressive, but neither are they reliable confidants. Previous employees who had invested emotional energy into relationships often discover their energy wasted and their relationships one-sided. We recommend keeping road inhabitants at a professional distance. And As previously stated, take care not to provoke them. Employee Handbook, Section 4D. Autumn came to wish me goodbye before I left. By which I mean she came to lecture me one final time. "Don't die," she said. "I'm not gonna die. I'm not finished. Don't die. Then you won't be able to give me your truck on the return." Yeah, that's not happening either. Autumn, I can't even come back to this town without you in the car. I'm not finished. And not true. Now that you've been here once, you can always come back. It's been added to your version of Route 333, which also unfortunately means your drive will be a little bit longer. That's fine. I wasn't apologizing. This is all your fault, and you owe me. She grew suddenly serious. You told me you're going past the 3-day mark, which sounds like it might already be further than normal given how quickly you drive. Just be careful. Things can get odd. More than normal. Try to stay in your truck as much as you can and don't die. It almost sounds like you don't hate me nearly as much as you profess to. You're the only one that knows where I am now. Why can't you hijack one of the cars in town? She shuddered. I tried that once. I will not be repeating. I opened my mouth and closed it, then asked the question she refused to answer yesterday. How long have you been lane locked? She glared at me. A lot of us give up when we're trapped, especially the older ones. I'm young though. It doesn't matter how long I've been here or how long it takes to escape. I'm not dying here. A long time, then. What's up, Miksu? How you doing? Nyahoy. Nyahoy. Neither of us acknowledged the obvious truth. Autumn was further out than any other truckers. Much further. Tiff was merely hours from the end of Route 333. But it would still be a decade or more for her to escape. Autumn, though? This far. She may be young now, but she wouldn't exit until her 50s or 60s, if at all. It was also unfair. We were both here in the same spot, but she was trapped. While I could be in the real world in less than a day. That spark, though, her stubborn determination. I was struck again with how much she looked like Myra. She was somebody who had been driving alone for multiple years, and she still managed to hold her chin up. Uh-oh, and Brendan, she said, this isn't in the employee handbook, but hold your breath if you go through any tunnels. With that, she patted the side of my reg and marched away. Typical. What's up, Stilly? Yo. It's Sonoma and Semp. Nice to see you guys. Audio's a little bassy, but not so much that it makes you muddled. We can fix it. We can fix it. I should have used a little bit more care. Let me know if this is better. Is that any better? Should be slightly better. I'm not sure. What's the story about? Today is not a dumpster fire, but I'm recovering the workplace from yesterday. Fair. Great, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. It's I'll definitely, probably before the subathon, take some time to really get everything tip top. If I can do it, I don't know if I can. But the story is a part 7, Miksu, and a series in which there's a driver on a road that is weird. There's a lot of supernatural stuff, and I'm not going to go through all 6 parts, but you've been here for some of it. But today is not a dumpster fire. I'm happy that you're at least having an easier day still, eh? You deserve that. You deserve an easier day. Seems like you've been going through a little bit. Thank you for that, Pat. Good morning. Made myself a cappuccino. Beautiful. See? Big gets it. And also, yes, sip coffee. I'm on my last cup. I woke up early and have already had most of my coffee for the day. But this is a self-serve cafe. And I also like highly back and support a cappuccino. For a while, that was my drink of choice. I was, I hesitate to say, like, obsessed. But I did have a really soft spot for cappuccinos for a long time. I think what killed it was like, there was just one morning where Eggy and I, like we went out to our little local cafe and I had like a couple there. Then we got home and we're like, you know what, sounds good? More coffee, more sweet treats. And I think I had like 2 or 3 more. And yeah, it was one of those days where I was like, we were in the middle of running in one of the newer dungeons at the time in Final Fantasy 14, Shadowbringers. It's like Plagathon, I forget how it's said. I was Black Mage, and I started having like massive anxiety in the middle of the dungeon. It was horrible. But I'm sitting there like, I'm still doing my rotation, still doing my job. Still being a pog champ. Those were the days. But yeah, cappuccinos, great. Great job. Good choice. You have 2 days off. Lovely, Stilly. Lovely. You have fun. You enjoy those days off. You've more than earned it. I finally got some decaf so I can join in with the coffee drinking. Hell yeah, Sonoma. Love to hear it. I have some, like, whenever I go through periods of like being like I need to be sober, I will get decaf, and when I feel like having a beer, that's when I'll drink decaf at night. It works really well for me. And I was thinking like we should get some decaf, but we have like old K-cups that could just like break open, because we are in a little moment of sobriety. So pat on the back for me. Ooh. Just worked the 6 worst days stretch of my life. I mean, that's an accomplishment in and of itself. Not a great one. That sucks. But, yeah, it's almost over. It's almost over. What's up, Annie? Oh, wait, that's right. 25p. We have an Annie here. So you, are 25p, if that's okay. Yeah. Nico, Nico, nee. There's the meow redeem. Ugh. That's why I'm limited to only 1 Alani a day? What is that? Also, if you hear any weird noise, there's a plane. So, yay. Messed the espresso shots a little by grinding it too fine. Listen, I wish I had one of those fancy coffee makers. Beak. All I have is a coffee pot and a Keurig. I've been considering at least doing the the French press. I don't know. It seems fun. Not fun. It seems nice. And I heard it is better. A friend, when we were visiting, my best bud, his wife, had one. And I like dark roast, and I take it pretty strong. And it tasted more like if coffee were a tea. And that could have been I guess the light roast. I don't know. But it was it lacks that punch. And apparently that was enough to kill me. Great. Let me move the mic again. Okay, cool. And with that, we need to reset the model. The joys of VTubing, right? You even ground the beans yourself? Sounds like a good cappuccino. Yeah, it does. Alani is an energy drink. It's usually classed as a pre-workout. Oh my god. Okay, listen. I would like, Aki and I used to work at the same place. So I would just like chill out with her while she would sit there and, finish up work. But two of my buddies there would always go to the gym afterwards. And they would sit there and pound they would take a paper and, make a little funnel out of it. It was, I don't know, it was so weird. All I remember is them talking about, like, one of their friends that they gave it to. And, apparently, like, certain things itching and burning is a thing. Ants in your pants and I don't know. It just sounded like a horrible experience. I was like, you know what? I think I'll just stick to coffee. And I'm sure it's very different, but no, enjoy it. I have an electric grinder that you use at will to choose how fine or coarse you want it. My dad was a huge coffee nerd and taught me. See, that sounds great. That sounds nice. Jealous. But, yeah, you enjoy that coffee. I really need to make a point to go back to the little cafe we have. It's been a while. And you know what? Maybe I'll treat myself if I have money. Maybe I'll like get my sweet drink, because I'm not a huge fan of like coffee sweet drinks, but they do theirs right. And also like maybe I'll get a cappuccino, because it's been a while and I really love those. Sad to report that decaf is pretty bad. It is hard to find good decaf, but I'm flattered that you got some decaf so you can have coffee with me. That's very sweet. And you know what? I have a little bit left, and I want to make sure that I have a sip with you. So if you have it with you, I'm gonna do the little count, and we'll have a sip together. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. What's up, Irene? Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi. Welcome in. It sounds like a low quality pre-workout. I don't ants in your brain and ants in your pants. That's all I remember still. I don't know. I think it was Ghost, if I remember right. What's up, Bambi? And Bluff. Sorry if I've skipped over you. It's not intentional. Is that who I think it is? I doubt it, Luna, but like if you're talking to me, but please feel free to throw out who you think I am. I do have a gaming channel, so there is a likelihood that it is, I guess. Thank you, Irene. I'm happy you like it. It was like a little bit too boomy mere minutes ago, but still he's coming in, being the champ, being the VIP person that she is. I can now remove the pinned comment and help make the audio quality a little bit better. So let's take a moment to think, Stilly. Appreciate you, Stilly. Always. But yeah, Luna, if you want to guess who I am, it's I'll confirm or deny it, and I will do so honestly. But I doubt it. Time to go back. Was on break at 9:30. Oh, love it. Let's go. Good luck and good work, Stilly. You got this. So we're gonna go back to the story. It's essentially just started. It's the 7-part series, or this is part 7 apparently, and I guess it's probably gonna continue on. But yeah. Let's see how long it is. I do have some other stories picked out too, and as always, I'm down to chat. I'm down to talk with you guys. But back to the story for now. 3 days. 3 more days until my final destination. With With everything that happened the last 40 some odd hours, it feels like weeks had gone by. But I was barely 2 days into my trip, less than that. With the forest dwellers, the meat storm, and autumn, I was hours off schedule. I'd be putting in a positively illegal number of hours to make it up. It wasn't that I thought some specific terrible thing would happen if I was late. It was just that the more time I spent with this particular cargo, the more chances some unknown terrible thing had to occur. I took Autumn's advice and stayed mostly in my truck. When I needed fuel, I stopped only at empty gas stations. I triple-checked the area was deserted before hopping out, and when it was time to go to sleep, I would stuff paper tissues into my nostrils for the smell. Who cared about the weather? There was no way I was leaving the windows open. Sure enough, the first night without Autumn, the faceless man was sniffing at my windows. I blared my horn until he scampered away. The next day, I chanced a food run to a rundown general store along the main road. Within minutes, the employees went from friendly to frowning. Soon they were collecting near the front doors with brooms, looking less and less human by the second. I slipped out the delivery door with my food basket without paying. Gas station employees started staring at me just a bit too long. At night, the highway would fill with thick, blinding mist. Heavy clouds seemed to sit always on the horizon, as if waiting for any excuse to descend in the air. How to describe it? There was an oppressiveness, the fuzzy, weighted feeling just before a storm, but constant. You'll be fine, I reassured myself. As long as you stay in your truck, you're safe. The wailing was louder now. The childlike thing in the trailer would openly weep as I drove. Only when I pulled off and walked to the back would it stop, as if the thing was embarrassed to be caught. It was the afternoon of day 4 when I officially passed the furthest point I had ever gone, an abandoned shopping mall. There'd never been much logic behind where dispatch sent us to drop off our trailers. Sometimes it was at empty warehouses, sometimes vacant grocery stores. The only requirement was that these drop-off points all had some sort of a loading dock, but apart from that, they were random. Abandoned, usually. I didn't know of any trucker who had ever picked a trailer up. I slowed as I approached the pull-out for the mall. Past this point was uncharted territory, a vast expanse of unknown. From what I gathered from Deidre and Vikram and the other drivers, almost none of them had been past this point either. I stepped on the gas. The eternal desert gave way to a canyon. A fragile guardrail rose up to protect the multi-ton vehicle from sheer cliffs, and the straight road began twisting. Far below, a blackish river wound its way through meadows and thickets of birch trees. The road was empty. It had always been empty. Without Autumn, I was again the only vehicle on the road. Not that it stopped me from clenching my stomach around curves, but it was more than that. There were no birds. The very wind had given way to flat, dead air. And when I stopped for a bathroom break on the side of the road, the stillness was maddening. You all good? I asked the trailer on one of these breaks. Headed back to the cab without waiting. I had given up hoping that the thing would. A mutter. I scrambled back over and pressed my ear to the trailer. What, Jake? I stayed still. The thing had spoken. I'd suspected it could understand me before, but I hadn't been sure. Honestly, maybe it still couldn't. In the way that parrots don't understand the human words they say, but this somehow felt intentional. You're watching me? I asked. Nothing. I waited some more, But there were no more words, no more sobbing, not even audible breathing. Eventually, I started back on my way. What did it mean? What was it watching? Me? Or was it merely annoyed by my constant checkups? It wanted me to stop watching it. Could that be it? Then another thought. A cold one. What if I misunderstood entirely? I shuddered. A desire overwhelmed me to look up through the windshield. Above me, at the infinite patient sky. I didn't. Instead, I did what any 20-something-year-old would do while their understanding of cosmic existence was being deconstructed and made anew. I switched on the radio. At least there would always be K-pop. Cheesy Eloise. Cheesy Eloise. How are you doing, Eloise? It's nice to see you. The longer I drove, the more I noticed odd details. The leaves on the trees looked almost correct, but if you slowed down and focused, they weren't always connected to the branch. They would dangle there, suspended by nothing. On stretches of desert, tumbleweeds would roll across the road. There was still no wind. They would bounce in multiple directions at the same time, as if they weren't quite sure which way they were supposed to go, only that they should go somewhere. On call, we'll be here soon. Okay, you, me. From a beyond me. I'm good. Not slept much as usual. F. I thought yesterday was a turning point. I was bragging about you. I was cheering for you. I'm doing good though, always. I'm doing good. Cheering for Sue today. It's her first day of work, and I'm, like, once again, very proud of her. So much so that I had a little death just then, I guess. Woo. Are you reading something? I am. What we do here, Irene, is generally just read stories from Reddit, usually from r/no sleep, or if we're like really chatty, we will like read them from like the short story subreddit. There's also like things that can be redeemed for I don't know if you're familiar with ASMR Script Haven, but where I think it's like 5 or 10k points, where if you get that, I will read some really cringy ASMR things acted out and all that stuff. But yeah, while we do ASMR, it is mostly story reading and chatting, and there are some trigger options for people that like those. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I still want people to have something they enjoy, if that's the sort of thing they want. But yeah, we're just we're reading stories. And the Canyon River, if you squinted, it looked like a river, but when you examined it, there was no movement of water. It just sat there, entirely flat, despite the downward slope of the terrain. Sometimes I would wind around the circular hill, far past the point I should have met up with the road I'd already come down. Except, I never would. It just kept going in a loop. New scenery, new views, around the same limited circle, until finally the road would realize, I've gone too long, haven't I? It would straighten out into a brand new stretch of highway. The best comparison would be AI art. The first time you glance over it, nothing seems amiss. It's only when you study it that you notice 6-fingered hands and strings of letters that aren't quite words. It's the impression of an image more than anything, like a waking dream. The further I drove from the real world, the less real things seems to be. Route 333 had the general idea of how physics worked, but kept forgetting the specifics. Or perhaps it merely didn't care. Why should it? Humans were never meant to be here. especially get this far. What if I'm lane locked right now? The thought bubbled up from nowhere. I shoved it out. Well, tried to. I cranked up the music and sang along. Again, tried to. I didn't actually know the words. What if I do, though? Autumn still had a chance. Her trip would take decades, but here, nearly 4 days away from the start of the road, the drive back would be hundreds of years. I'd be stuck here in the strange, not reality. I turned the music up louder. Why didn't I recognize the song? After 4 days of station 96.2, I memorized most of the songs by now, but this one, it wasn't even K-pop. I went to switch it off. My hand didn't move. What the? I tried again, but my grip on the steering wheel only tightened. I glanced down at the car radio and... Oh no. The digital display no longer showed station 96.2. Somehow, a slip of my hand or a bump in the road, the station had switched to 96.5. One of the forbidden stations. I let out a stream of profanity. At least my mouth still functioned correctly. I tried shifting my foot onto the brake. It only pushed down on the gas harder. There was a volume dial on the steering wheel. But you have a great voice for reading. It's a shame that I'll only see it the mornings since I have classes. Well, I mean, I don't know how. This is like generally that I usually start like 7 minutes ago. I try to. And I mainly stream in the mornings. Or my mornings, I don't know what time that's for you. But yeah. I'm happy you're here though. I'm happy that you enjoy it. Also, humble brag. Not so humble brag. Mildly humble brag. It is my job. It's my day job. I usually read scripts that end up being YouTube videos. And I've gotten to do so many different kinds. It's been fun, and it's pretty fun. There's also been some very, very, very indie game stuff and game mods for Fallout and stuff that I've done. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. I'm living my best life, finally. Finally. I tried shifting my foot to the brake. It only pushed down on the gas harder. Throw away, bro, buddy. I tried waiting for you. I read a story before I got started on this one. We're in part 7 of the trucking one. And just to catch you up, he's left the person that he met from last time where he destroyed her truck and stuff on accident with the meat storm. And I guess going to be coming back for her, but he's currently continuing on with this mission to deliver the thing in the back, the product that he's delivering. But it did finally talk to him, and it said something like watching. And now he's accidentally turned on the radio to the forbidden radio station. Ooh. You had a morning swim to attend? Fair enough. I just want you to know that you were thought about and you were considered. How are you doing though? How's your day been? Mine's going good. We're passively cheering for Sue as she is doing her training for her first day of work. So we'll be seeing a lot less of her, but she is still here inside me. There was a volume dial on the steering wheel. If I could only raise my thumb and press it down. Impossible though. My limbs had ceased to function. My legs and hands, anything besides my face really, were no longer my own. Far in the distance, a curve in the road. The needle on my speedometer continued to rise. If I couldn't stop, I'd hurl over the edge, fall off a cliff into the canyon. Already the crunch of metal ring in my ears, a snap, blackness. The guardrail ahead was already broken and missing. Also, throwaway. Do you think our audio sounds better today than normal? Or can you not tell a difference? I'm interested in what you think. Okay, Firehawk, and also throwaway as well. Let's have this sip together. Oh my god, apparently I'm gonna die if I have it. If I have this sip. 1, 2, 3. The road wanted nothing between me and the inevitable fall. The song on the radio would end. That was how I escaped. It would end any second, and in the pause, I would punch the power button and seize control. It seemed so obvious. I'd always gotten lucky with these things. The creatures always stopped a second before they found me. I always woke up and saw the faceless man just before he could unlock my door. Another driver appeared as a sacrifice, right when the meat storm was prepared to crush me. I would get lucky now too. Any moment, the song would end. I waited. It didn't. I expected numb resignation like it had happened a few previous days ago. I'd given up so easily then, but what filled me now was scalding and sharp. None of this was fair. Why couldn't I both want to live and be allowed to? Before, whenever I'd wished to stop existing, something had always pulled me back, but now, when I was finally finding reasons to continue on, something was going to kill me anyways. Tiff needed me. Autumn did too, and Al. And the thing in the trailer had already been through so much this trip. It's ironic, I thought as the edge approached, how the things we would die for are the same things that make us afraid of dying. The injustice of it all bubbled up to my throat. It exploded out of my mouth. I was screaming without intentionally choosing to. My throat burned, but I roared anyway. At the radio, at the road, the universe, anything and all of it. Everything and nothing. I screamed until it consumed me. It drowned out the world. Overtook my vision. Eliminated all sound. I slammed off the radio. The brakes screeched. The back of the truck whipped back and forth. The entire rig came to a stop a few meters short of the edge. For a good 5 minutes, I gripped the wheel with my foot planted firmly on the brake, doing nothing but trying to control my breathing in shocked silence. It was only when I got out and peered over the edge that I realized why the guardrail in that particular section had already been torn away. A twisted freight container lay on its side, hundreds of feet below. The cab lay a ways off, upside down and equally bent. Later, I used a spare ice scraper to gouge the stereo into pieces. Fun, while it lasted. I drove the final day in silence. No cops pulled me over. No gas station attendants approached me with too wide smiles. Even the dark clouds on the horizon dissipated. It was like Route 333 had fired every last bullet at me. And now, it could merely scowl from a distance, holding its empty pistol. I let my eyes glaze over the abnormalities of ever-degrading reality and drove. Weeks ago, so much silence might have unpicked my threads of sanity. It was why I always made sure to have music downloaded, Thoughts were always worse when there was nothing loud to chase them out. Now, though, with the sobbing thing in the trunk and Autumn trapped in a town only I could access, my mind was singular. I would get my cargo to its destination. I would keep it safe. When I did actually reach the drop-off point, I didn't feel relief, only a determination to finish the job. I had driven up a mountain for hours, watching for the abandoned gas station Reno had described to me. Right when I expected the crest to summit, the road leveled out. The landscape in front of me stretched out to open, lush forest. Impossible. We should be at a peak. I should be gazing at the miles of valley below. Laws of nature were barely a consideration anymore. Excuse me. All I cared about was the abandoned gas station at the side of the road. Randall's instructions were clear. I might loathe them, but every Autumn seemed to think I should follow his directions. But even Autumn seemed to think I should follow his directions. I would leave the trailer at the loading bay, just like always, turn around and drive home. It took me some minutes to unhook the trailer, but eventually it did detach. I set my hand on the back doors one final time. We made it. You'll be safe here. Things will stop trying to capture you now. A child's voice sobbed in response. The thing usually stopped when I approached, but it cried openly now, as if it understood this was our final goodbye. How could I just leave it? Would something come to collect it? Who was responsible to keep it safe now? I fingered the lock. I didn't even have to look. I could simply unlock it so it had a way to get out once I was gone. If it had begged me, I never would have considered this, but it hadn't. Not once. It wasn't like hitchhikers begging for a ride. The thing had resigned itself to its situation like Tiff, like I had in the past. Be safe, I whispered. Before I could change my mind, I drove away. No more breaking rules, no more risks, and no more looking back, I told myself. My own rule. It would only make things harder. I neared the curve that would carry me back to the mountain switchbacks. The ground shook, and around me trees quavered. In my rear view, the abandoned gas station tilted. The earth around it opened up like the yawning maw of a beast, and my trailer teetered on the edge. No. There was no time to turn the rig back around. I leapt out and sprinted the way I'd come. I reached the opening chasm, just as the freight container wavered, then pitched forward into the darkness. Screaming, a child's screeches arose from the container as it tumbled downwards. Downwards. The earth snapped closed with the sickening crunch of metal. Silence. You've all just spent the last few weeks reading about the first half day of my 10 days trip. You're probably all geared up for my adventures on the return. You're excited for the details of more deadly situations in which I narrowly escaped. There was none of that. I drove in silence. I spoke to no one. I didn't stop to shower and only ate what I could grab from gas stations. When I passed through Autumn's town, I kept driving. When I drove past Tiff's diner, I didn't stop. I took the occasional nap and drove through the nights, and nothing and no one attempted to stop me. Not even the forest dwellers. For the first time, there was no supernatural stalling in the redwood section. They knew, like everything else, something terrible would befall them should they try to slow me down. When I finally pulled the truck into a yard near nightfall, my resolve didn't falter. I parked, downed an energy drink, then strode through the dispatch center into Randall's office. His eyes bogged out from his skull. Brendan, you're okay. Calmly, I locked the door behind me. What? How? Nobody's spoken to you in over a week. We thought you'd... I slammed my foot into his chest. He and his chair crashed to the floor. I fell on him, pinned him down, and wrapped my hand around his mouth, pressing down with pounds of force. Wide, fearful eyes stared up. For once, they weren't mine. You're right, I said. We haven't spoken in so long. Let's have a chat, shall we? Hey. I'm excited for the next part. I like how they end things. They do the cliffhanger thing, which I normally hate. But what I really like about the person writing this, let's give them some credit. It's Yobro 1001. They put these out usually once or twice a week, it seems like. And it hasn't really gone off the rails. And I like that. I feel like that's kind of hard to do if you're, I imagine, like, just kind of, you had an idea for a story and you're writing it as you go. Sometimes, especially here, there's like inconsistencies, or things get messed up, or, things feel rushed. But it feels like they're doing really, really good with the story. And I'm actually anticipating the next one. We'll finally, hopefully, get an answer to what's causing all this, why things are the way they are, why they're doing what they have to do. It's gonna be, I'm sure, pretty cool. Is there gonna be a next part that felt like a solid ending? He's beat the road, learned to want to live, and it ends with him facing Randall and being in charge for once. I feel like there's gonna at least be one more, because part of the deal, and I think the last story or the one before it was, if he manages to come back, he's finally gonna understand. Like, Randall's finally gonna tell him what's up with the road, why things are the way they are. He's gonna get an explanation. So I think that'll probably be where they wrap it up. They might leave it open-ended for, like, like, maybe I'll ride one last time or something like that. But I feel like there's going to be at least one more, and we're going to have closure. We're going to have our questions answered. That seems. I would be a little hurt, if I've invested this much time in reading their stories, and literally this invested, to not have an answer, to the questions that they've made us ask as readers. Yeah, I'm owed that. I deserve that. I've been wondering why they need people to drive down this road. It has to do with I think probably more so with the freight that was delivered, and the ending for that. Like, what was the thing that swallowed it up? The four spoke one and whatever was in the back of it. But I guess, like, what I'm thinking is the situation is like, this is an offering to some sort of, like, deity or being, whatever that special thing in the back of the truck was. And this is how humanity can keep functioning and survive without being completely massacred. I imagine it's probably going to be something like that. Might be wrong, though. I might be wrong. That was an interesting story. I agreed, Firehawk. Agreed. It was it's pretty cool. It's one sometimes, like, the series can be really annoying, but this one's pretty well written and thought out. I like it. Maybe it's like the cabin in the woods type situation. What do you mean? Oh my god. 10 out of 10. Great pun. A sacrifice. I don't know. There's no prize, but you win today. I don't know what that is, but great job. Really quick, I am gonna go grab some water, and let me finish this coffee really quick, and then I'll grab water. It'll be like 2 minutes. Just take a very, very quick and short break. Okay, I'll be right back, world. We'll let you watch the model dance, I think. Okay. Alright. Was it literally 2 minutes? I think so. The Cabin in the Woods is a great horror movie that breaks down the whole horror genre. Okay. It's not the comedy one. With the guy from, I think the show is Reaper. I don't know the guy's name, but I like him a lot. He's pretty funny. Some Canadian guy. Crow, what's up, buddy? I'm apparently so excited to see you that I'm breaking apart. Thanks for that, Bat. And let me do the stretch as well. You gonna put me back together? Oh yeah. And coffee. We're out of coffee, but I did just grab water, so we'll have a sip together. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, buddy. How you doing today? How you been? How you living? And the fool being the stereotypical stoner who was secretly the smartest of them all. Smart of the best parts. Fair. Good sip. 10 out of 10 would sip again. Nice. Nice. Let's see. This one's not too long, so we'll go ahead and read this one. It's titled, "Something feels off with the people around me, but no one else seems to notice. Been tired, but that's normal, so good, I guess. Fair. I started with Diego. He's been my best friend since middle school. The kind of guy who never shuts up during soccer matches. We're hanging out at his apartment, talking about a trip we might take, when he said, "Man, if we go to Cusco, I'm definitely bringing my drone." I laughed and nodded and kept scrolling on my phone. Not even 30 seconds later, he leaned forward, same grin on his face, and said, "Man, if we go to Cusco, I'm definitely bringing my drone." Word for word, same tone, same laugh afterwards. Wait, you just said that? Diego looked at me like I had grown a second head. No, I didn't. Are you okay? That was the first crack. The next was my mom calling me by an old nickname she had never used. Nico. Or Nikochu. She hadn't said that since I was 5. When I asked her why she suddenly brought it back, she froze for a second and said, "What are you talking about? I've always called you that." I brushed it off. I tried to, but it kept happening. Laura, my girlfriend, told me one night about this amazing beach we went together last summer. Thing is, we never went. I remember working all through July, and I told her that. She tilted her head like a doll that doesn't quite understand the question and said, "No, Nico. Don't you remember? It's in the script." I laughed nervously. The script. What script? But then she smiled, too wide, and kissed my cheek. It was the cafe incident that really shook me. There was this place near campus where I always order orange juice. That day, the barista, cheerful girl named Camilla, came back with black coffee. Sorry, I ordered orange juice," I said. She looked straight at me, smile fading, and whispered, "It's not in the script." Silence. My stomach dropped. "What did you say?" Camilla blinked like nothing had happened. "Orange juice, right? Sorry about that." She rushed off, leaving me sitting there with the coffee that was still steaming. I started noticing patterns. Cars on the main avenue stopping at the exact same rhythm. Conversations repeating in the same sequence when I walked past strangers. Even the stray dogs by the bookstore, scratching its ear at the same socket every afternoon. One night, I confronted Laura. "You need to tell me the truth," I said. "What's going on? With you, with everything. Is this real?" She was brushing her hair, sitting at my desk, her hand froze in mid-stroke. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then, without turning around, she said, "Don't think too much, Nico. It's not healthy." Her voice was flat, mechanical. I didn't sleep that night. Yesterday was the breaking point. I woke up and found my dad sitting in the chair across from my bed. He wasn't supposed to be there. He lives in another city. "Dad?" I said. He didn't answer, just stared at me. His eyes looked wrong, like glass. Finally, in a low, distorted voice, he spoke. "You're reaching the limit of this environment." I froze. What the hell does that mean? "This isn't life. It's a simulation." When he blinked, for the briefest second, I swear I saw a blue screen flicker across his pupils, like a computer crash. I bolted out of my room, out of the house, but outside, it wasn't the neighborhood anymore. It was white, endless, a blank space stretching forever. And in the middle of it, a glowing door. I don't remember deciding to open it, but I did. On the other side, I heard a voice. Not my dad's, not anyone's. A deep echoing everywhere at once. "System reset. Subject will be reinserted into the simulation." And then, black. I woke up in my bed this morning, sunlight pouring through the curtains, my phone buzzed with messages from Diego, joking about the soccer match that night. Everything looked normal, except my dad was still sitting in the chair. I told myself that it had to be a dream, a leftover hallucination from lack of sleep, but then he slowly turned his head towards me. His mouth moved and I braced for the metallic voice. Instead, he whispered, almost gently, "Nico, you have to stop asking questions." And then he smiled, just a normal, tired smile. For a second, I almost believed, almost convinced myself that I had managed or imagined everything. But then I remembered Camilla at the cafe, the way her voice dropped, flat and lifeless, when she handed me the wrong drink. It's not in the script. And I can't stop thinking. What the hell does that even mean? Iyomi. Iyomi. Thank you very much for the pen thing. Hello here for a second. What's up, Kuma? What's up? How you doing? How you living? Also wonder why the emotes aren't showing up for you on chat. They're showing up. At least on my end, I can see them. What's up, Aromar? How you doing? It does that to me when my connection is bad. I mean, on the messages I sent. Well, they did come through. I assure you. Aromar and Bluff, let's have a sip together. 1, 2, 3. Also, Yumi, I did some changes to the sound. Still, it helped me make sure that it didn't sound too bassy or muddy. What is your take on it? Can you tell a difference? And how does it compare to what we normally have? And if you can't tell a difference, then I guess it's good. But Romar, I'm not doing bad. I'm not doing bad. I've grown used to see my little Suwu a little bit before stream. I'll usually take that time like to chat with her and do a little bit of work for the channel and stuff. Doing some stuff. But today is her first day at her new job. She's doing training, and we're quietly as a community, as a group, cheering her on, showing our support for Sue. Studying as always, hip bone details. Okay, all right. So that's what you mean by studying. Oh, whoa. How many things do the muscles really need to attach to? Interesting. Okay. Sounds cool, Kuma. Sounds good in your opinion? Good, Yumi. I wanted to put some, like a little more bass, but didn't really test all frequencies. I just kind of lightly adjusted what I already had. But, yeah. I'm happy that it's cool. I'm back from Twitch crashing. Yay! Welcome back. Classic Twitch. I can't remember if we read this here. It sounds good. Good. I can't tell what those emotes are. Those Z's, or are you sweating? Hey, yo. I finally also downloaded Blue Voice so I could adjust what I hear in my headphones and the gain. So I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy about that. I'm sweat-free, boy. But because you just sweated it all out? Oh my god. Oh my god. Get them some water. Get them some water. When did we get these? Sometime last week. Ayumi was kind enough to provide me with that. A lot of the cool things that we have here on the channel are we can thank Ayumi as we often do and will often do. Let's get a little round of applause for not only Ayumi, but also for Eloise and Sue, and also Ayumi. They do a lot to make this happen and make me feel supported and keep me motivated and keep me happy. So I do want to take just a little moment to thank you guys, whether you can hear me or not, whether you're here or not. You guys are great, and I appreciate you so much. Looks like that one VTubers concert that people were going on about a year or two ago. Okay. Nice. A moment of silence for the crew. No, you guys aren't passing. Just a round of applause. A moment of recognition and respect and appreciation. Yeah. Also, just so you guys know, I made sure to put it in the title. Once I figure out and plan things a little bit more in the stream title, there's going to be a countdown for the subathon. We do have some cool ideas, which I don't remember, that are being tossed around. And I need to come up with more. But some of them are like doing cover songs. And one, which I'm not sure if I'll do or not, is like either dressing up in the maid outfit or dressing up as Chozo, or being Chozo in a maid outfit, and playing bass on camera. Probably not gonna go with a face reveal. Wear a little mask or something. I don't want to break the immersion or the illusion for people that value that. But yeah, we might do something like that, depending on, I forget what else there is. There's fun ideas being tossed around. But yeah, that'll be a thing. Art stream hand cam, well, something like that. Yeah, so I play bass guitar and don't really sing too well, but I do scream well. I do like death metal vocals pretty good, and black metal vocals as well. More like black and death metal is kind of where I sit in vocally. But occasionally, and more so recently, because people have asked for it, I'll try to incorporate singing or something. But generally do like black and death metal or melodic metal. But occasionally, make like indie rock songs and stuff. But yeah, we're coming up with ideas. Some of them are good. One of them is Yumi insists that I do the Snickles thing. So I guess we're gonna do the Snickles thing. Oh, and probably for like a fairly low one, a mukbang, which I think is just gonna be like a camera on the pizza so you can see that I'm eating it, and I just like really wanted an excuse to eat a lot of pizza. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. I could just sit here and eat pizza and maybe at that point, I don't know, drink beer. Probably not great to fill up on beer though. If I want to get like a ridiculously sized one and just see how much I can eat. It's yeah, it's very self-indulgent. Maybe you could make a calm version of some metal song, make it chill. If anything, Kuma would be the opposite. I would take a chill song and make it metal. Hey yo. Also, tasting Pilk variations would be cool. I don't think I'll do a Pilk thing. I don't think I'll do a Pilk thing. Just because like I'm not really a soda guy, and then I'm gonna have like, a ton of Pepsi left over, and I don't really drink milk, so I'm gonna have a lot of milk left over. You nasty. I'm nasty. Yeah, classic Yumi. Yeah, I don't even know. But it's believed. It's believed. Okay. I'm gonna stop ranting about that. But I'm gonna make it a point to mention it as we get closer, and maybe even make some sort of promotional material. Wish I hadn't looked up Pilk. Yeah, it's a thing. But we're going to be doing Snickles instead, which is a Snickers with a pickle on top or underneath. That Snickles is worse? I don't think it is. I feel like Pepsi and milk would just curdle and be weird. I don't think it's going to bother me. I like pickles. I like Snickers. I'm sure they're going to be horrible together. And I'm sure the reaction to it is going to be very underwhelming. And I will not play up a single thing. I never do. Only if it's... What do I? Do I play anything up? No, we're having live self-reflection. Isn't that great? feel like I play things up, like for comedic effect, if I'm drinking. And maybe for a bit if I'm like with somebody, like trying to make them laugh. But I don't think... Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll come back what I'm saying. I feel like Snickles at least has a chance of being tolerable. Agreed. Because it's not going to be good. It's not going to taste good. But I think it's just going to... I think it's going to be underwhelming, you know? I don't know how you can do all this. I would rather eat a dead bug or something. I think I'd draw the line at like bugs and slugs. That's not a me thing, but... You do you. You do you, Kuma. You eat all the bugs you want. I don't support it, but, you know, it's your life to live, and I don't have to support it. Watch her, some kitty cat just play it as, it's actually really good. Just to make us angry. Maybe Eloise has the right idea of getting them donuts. I want some donuts. I don't need any though. I don't need any. Anyway, I'm going to read this story. I think we read the first one. I either read it here or I read it to Sue, and I don't remember. But it's titled, Remember Those Creepy Chain Emails from the Early to Mid 2000s? And in case I didn't read it, from what I remember, the main character received a chain email that they thought was funny, and they clicked on an image that was attached, and just saw a pitch black image. They met someone on Tinder, and sent the email to them because they were curious. So they did some editing to the picture to bring up the light on it, and yeah, it was very spoopy and unsettling. I think he had someone, cop, knock on his door in the middle of the night, saying that they saw someone inside their house for some reason, and was making sure that they're safe, and now there's like a sense of dread. Big slug boys are the best. No comment? Time to visit the optician to get myself a pair of high reading glasses. Have a good glasses, Ayumi. Okay, we start the story. Last night I ended up passing out on the motel couch. I woke up maybe about an hour with a dry throat, a sharp headache, feeling nauseous, which actually wasn't so bad because at least it managed to draw focus away from everything else. My immediate instinct was to head for the shower, but then I stopped before entering the bathroom. I began arguing with myself in my head. What could really happen? The moment I turned the shower on, she'd be right there behind me. It wasn't possible. But then again, none of this should be possible. I decided to text Brito about it. Not sure how I was expecting him to respond or whether he was going to take it serious. But he told me that he was heading over, just to stay put, and to absolutely do not enter the shower. While waiting around for him, I started wondering about the logistics of it all. I'd never entered my room, and the woman had never gotten me. So, what if I just never took a shower? Would I be alright? At the very least, I should have been okay to use the sink. I splashed my face with cold water until the grogginess had become something manageable. Then I made myself some instant coffee and stared out the window. I tried to dissociate. Brito showed up a few minutes later. There were 3 others with him. One was a middle-aged man wearing a polo shirt, slacks. The other 2 were hulking SWAT officers outfitted in what looked like full sets of gear. The officer stood quietly by the door, while the man in the polo shirt flashed an FBI badge, introducing himself as Stevens. His expression was hard to read. He was smiling, but for whatever reason I couldn't tell. It It certainly wasn't friendly, but it also didn't seem malicious. Brito asked me if I had taken a shower yet. I told him that I hadn't. He nodded. Stevens then asked if he could look at both emails. I said sure, and then gave him my phone. His expression stiffened for the 5 or so minutes he spent looking them over, but as he handed the phone back to me, the smile had returned. He said that it was very important that I cooperate with what he was about to tell me next. I was going to take a shower while they monitored me. I'd shut the curtains, but they'd be there in the room with me. This was probably the only situation where I would have ever agreed to do something like that, even though I wasn't fully convinced that anything would happen. They told me that there shouldn't have been anything to worry about, since they still had a visual of the woman in my apartment. Apparently, she still hadn't moved, and it was pretty clear that neither of them were really entertaining the possibility of teleporting over. The prevailing theory was that the woman had somehow found a way to enter my apartment without me noticing. How she did that, I couldn't begin to fathom. But I suppose that in the absence of any other explanations, it had to be true. So, I asked them what reason they had to monitor me. What were they expecting? They told me that they weren't entirely sure, but the situation was bizarre enough that it had forced the need to confirm certain truths to test some theories. Suddenly, there came this gnawing feeling that wasn't worth the risk. After all, I could just take a bath. But was I only going to take baths from now on? What was I actually afraid of? The woman was still in my apartment. I had armed SWAT guarding me. What could possibly happen? There was no way I was going to live paranoid, looking over my shoulder for the rest of my life. I needed to confirm something as well, that I wasn't in danger, that I had nothing to fear. The plan was to have one of the officers stand out in the hallway by the front door, while the other stationed himself outside the bathroom. Brito and Stevens both turned away as I stripped down, entering the shower. Doing so felt ridiculous enough that it managed to inject a bit of levity into the mood. But then I turned the water on, and that disappeared almost immediately, replaced by dread and uncertainty. It should have felt euphoric to scrub the dirt and sweat off my skin. Instead, my heart was beating heavy as I stared down at the drain. I squeezed some shampoo onto my hands and began massaging it into my scalp, though I continued to force my eyes open, keeping them on the drain. But soon, the stinging became too much and I closed them for just a few seconds as I wiped away the shampoo. When I opened them back up, it looked like the water had taken on a brownish-green color. At first, I thought it could have been the shampoo. But then I could smell something rotten floating through the stream. Suddenly, the spray plate from the shower head dropped onto the floor in front of me. The stench intensified. It took me a few seconds too long to realize what was happening. I turned the water off and opened the curtains, but before I could step out, I could feel something grabbing my hair. I tried yanking my head away, but whatever was holding me had some kind of iron grip. I couldn't move. Both Brito and Steven seemed frozen in place as they stared somewhere above me. Their eyes were wide and their mouths were slack. They looked shell-shocked. I asked them to tell me what they were looking at, cause I sure as hell didn't want to turn around and find out for myself. But they didn't tell me anything. Instead, they yelled for the officer outside. The bathroom door swung open, but the officer stopped himself before entering. Though his mask was concealing his expression, his body language was telling enough. He shook his head and backed away. Then he ran out of the room. I could feel whatever was holding my hair beginning to pull me up, as if it were trying to rip off my scalp. Brito and Stevens continued to stand there, looking dumbfounded. I started to scream, but then the officer who had been out in the hallway rushed in. He also stopped at the doorway, hesitating for a moment before grabbing the knife from his belt and lunging towards me. Soon, I could feel the pain and pressure alleviate, and the second I did, I leapt out of the tub. Once I was out of the bathroom, I turned to see a pale arm retracting back into the shower head. It's been a few hours since that happened. A chunk of my hair is missing from where the officer had cut it. My scalp's been bandaged up, and I ended up using the sink to scrub away whatever sewer water was left on my skin. Mentally, I haven't begun to recover at all. I'm back at the police station now. I can feel everybody staring at me, though they all turn away when I try and look at them. A strange tension hangs in the air. Still, no updates on Jackson. He might be out of the country by now, but they did give me an update on Eliza. They can't find her. She hasn't been into work. Nobody has seen her. I know it's my fault. I could have warned her. But would she have believed me? Would it have been too late anyways? How could I have seen this coming? I've also learned that the woman is no longer in my apartment. From what I heard, she disappeared right in front of the cops who had been watching her. They just blinked and she was gone. They think she's in the motel, somewhere in the pipes. I've deleted all my emails, every single address. The cops insisted I do so, and I didn't fight them on it. But then I received a text message from a number I didn't recognize. I should have paid more attention, been more careful. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. The next time you fall asleep, she will be standing over you. She will take you. No escape. No escape. No escape. Welcome, man warrior. Yahoy. Yahoy. This voice. Is it one that you like? Or is it really annoying? Maybe a little bit of both. Maybe a little bit of both. So we have one story that I picked out. I'm going to look at some more because this is the last one I have. But I want to see if there's something that seems cooler. This one just kind of seems silly, so we'll save it in case I don't find anything better. But this one's titled, I accepted my rideshare's abs VIP upgrade without reading the terms. Now I know why the tips are so good. Okay, here's a... I don't know how long it is. It's a 3-parter, I think. But it could be cool. I do kind of like the series ones. Like, they're nice in a way. So we'll save that. We'll see if something else stands out. That one's titled, My Roommate Has Turned My Family Against Me, so I'm going to kill him. So I'm like, ooh, that sounds not great. Let's see. I think actually we'll start on that. That seems cool. Okay. Oh my god. No, we won't. Apparently it got removed. Oh, that's really annoying. Let me look at the channel. Are there... See if they posted it like anywhere else. No, they did not. So we're not going to read it because it's been removed. Pretty lame. Pretty lame. What's up, Bella? Welcome in. I mean, that's fair. That's life. You can't always be winning. Yeah, that's not great. I hope you're taking it easy then. This one seems kind of cool. F. This was titled, "My hometown's claim to fame was a museum of oddities. I think I'm fated to die there." The town I grew up in was strange. That statement typically garners a fair bit of narrative intrigue when I see it in person, but peculiar childhoods seem to be alarmingly common among the contributors that skulk in this about this particular forum. So, allow me to be more specific. My hometown was professionally strange. 5.5 square miles of humble farmland that doubled as a hotbed for the unexplainable and the uncanny. Strangeness was our lifeblood, the beating heart of our economy, attracting tourists from the 3 states over with the rumors of the closely kept secrets lurking with our one-of-a-kind showroom. An orphanage for the enigmatically aberrant was simply titled Curbside Emporium. The strangeness used to be the love of my life. Now I'm starting to suspect it'll be my tomb. But hey, it wasn't all bad news. At least I'll finally be a part of it. And that's what I wanted, right? Yeah, that sucks, Bella. And obviously, would have been better if it didn't happen. But please don't alter the nice, cozy, chill vibes too much. I'm happy that you do have somebody there to take care of you. That is good. You're good. You're good. It's okay. I feel like if I were in your situation, I would definitely be popping in and, mentioning it as well. It's a temporarily life-altering thing. I'm not like downplaying it at all, but do want to keep our nice, cozy environment. The way my parents tell the story, Curbside Emporium was my first true passion. Something that really put my life behind my eyes, or put life behind my eyes. To borrow a lovingly dumb expression from my dad, the mystique of the various oddities seemingly bonked my consciousness into second gear. Makes it sound like I was an exceptionally dull toddler before that day, glazed over and fashionably disinterested, until I glimpsed Miss Sapphire, the world's only sparkling blue tapeworm, and then voila, I was awakened. Not to veer too far off track, but have you ever heard of the Museum? It's a lovely little gallery nestled in a quaint section of Philadelphia's downtown, collecting and curating a wonderful assortment of oddities. The lady whose body turned to soap, the world's largest colon, a plaster cast of 2 conjoined twins, Curbside Emporium, and by extension my hometown, are certainly comparable. The amount of strange things stuffed within a single location, the raw density of it all, inspired a deep thrum of nostalgia within me when I visited the museum for my cousin's wedding a few months back. Yes, you can in fact get married there. Why in God's name would you want to? Well, if it reminded me of home, it must have reminded my cousin and his high school sweetheart of home too. And that's probably as good a reason as any to select a venue. Plus, Curbside Emporium doesn't have a reception hall. There is one key difference between the two, however. The Museum imports its strangeness from all over the globe. My hometown. We've never had a need to outsource like that. A strangeness springs up from roots around us like weeds, whether we like it or not. Let's put it this way. Whatever cosmic radiation stirs within the waters of the Bermuda Triangle, that same radiation seems to stir within the soil of our small podunk stretch of land. Assuming you believe the anomalous exhibitions aren't a series of well-intentioned hoaxes, of course. Excuse me. As a kid, that thought never even crossed my mind. I felt like a lie too cruel to even exist. Family and friends quickly learned that disbelief was akin to blasphemy in my eyes. My parents sidestepped many a screaming match between my older sister and me by prophetically outlawing curbside emporium talk at the dinner table. Begrudgingly, I complied. As long as she didn't disparage those consecrated halls, then I wouldn't argue she had poop for brains, tit for tat. To be clear though, she was right to be skeptical. First off, the unassuming layout and hokey decor didn't exactly scream scientific integrity. It was the second tallest building in town, squeezed tightly between the fire station and our local burger joint, marked by a piece of ostentatious neon signage that rose unnecessarily high into the air. I loved pretty much everything about the curbside emporium, excluding that sign. It made no earthly sense. The nearest interstate was 10 miles away, and the tallest building in town was the adjacent fire station. Who was the elevation for? Birds? Angels? Distracted, low-flying biplane pilots. And not only that, but the fluorescent green bulbs cost a small fortune and were prone to malfunction. For them all to work at once was nothing short of a miracle. The first R burnt out for what seemed like my entire freshman year of high school, making the sign read Cubside Emporium, which, to be perfectly frank, just sounds like a very odd, very specific porn outlet. No, I get it was meant to be symbolic, not practical. A sign to visitors that Curbside Emporium was clearly the crown jewel of our otherwise no-name town. Still, the building itself was in a state of perpetual disrepair. Why not siphon money from the sign towards fixing the crumbling foundation or eradicating the carpenter worm larvae that chewed up the floorboards every winter? Yay, we hit our little goal. Thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate you. But I digress. Disrepair didn't dampen the magic. Not for me, anyway. Walking through those oversized double doors, those towering slabs of dark oak that divided the dullness of the real world from the brilliant shimmer of dreamlike possibility, never failed to lift my spirits. The lobby set the tone for the showroom to come, with a palpable air of mystery and an abundance of kitschy charm. Shadows filled the dim lighting provided by scattered gold-plated oil lamps and essentially hung electric candelabra. With telescoping rows of gold teeth glowed above the swaths of eager patrons. The color scheme leaned heavily on deep reds and dull golds, which made the room look simultaneously regal and cheap. A burgundy-colored carpet that could easily hide a spilled glass of Merlot or a bloodstain within its fibers. Gold tassels on the curtain separating the lobby from the showroom that matched the gold threads embroidered into the curtain itself. Unlabeled knickknacks devoured every inch of wall space. At first, the ornamentation could appear chaotic. The more you looked, however, the more it seemed to fit together like pieces to a puzzle, implying some perverse method to the madness. Feathers dangled off the rim of a dream catcher to fill the U-shaped emptiness framed by the antlers of the taxidermy deer's head below. The borders of a scenic painting fit snugly between the legs of an antique artisan's bench, which the owners have bolted upright, extending laterally from the wall from where Mr. Baker operated the ticket counter. Let me drink some water. Mr. Baker, to my knowledge, is the only confirmed employee of Curbside Emporium, a gaunt, joyless corpse of a man always sporting a black tuxedo, an off-white button-down, and a gold cummerbund. Tickets cost at least $10, although you're technically permitted and simply encouraged to give over 10, as long as that amount is an even number. Mr. Baker won't accept odd number donations. Most people pay 10 on the dot, but I've seen bills as large as 100 deposited into the enormous gold cash register by Mr. Baker's skeletal liver-spotted hands. Why would you pay over 10? Well, the simple answer is that it's good karma to support local business. There are more convoluted answers, of course. Baseless conspiracies spurred on by the message written in gold lettering above the curtain that leads to the showroom. The more of yourself that you give, the more of yourself that you'll see. Once you push through the thick crimson fabric and enter the cavernous showroom, the Gilded Age aesthetic disappears completely. Instead, the presentation is very plain and down to brass tacks. I thought it was tax like CKS. They wrote tax with AX. Have I been wrong this entire time? With wood panel flooring, eggshell colored walls, and natural light provided through a trio of large windows along the wall furthest from the curtain. To me, is it really? Oh my god. I thought there was like tax like that you used to pin things, to tack things. I'm gonna have to Google this afterwards. Actually, I'm gonna do it now. I have to have an answer. Okay, so it is a... Okay, so I'm correct. It is tax with an ACKS, not brass tacks. Says the phrase, meaning to focus on the essential facts or details of a matter, likely refers to the actual brass-headed tacks or pins used to hold fabric onto furniture or in measuring cloth at shops in the 19th century. Okay. Listen, I'm happy you're wrong. It means I'm right. To me, this sharp contrast has always felt logical. The lobby establishes mystique via its flamboyant interior design. The showroom, in comparison, needs no touch. The expositions speak for themselves. The exhibitions, I can't read. I've already mentioned my favorite, Miss Sapphire. Don't get me wrong, I'm no tapeworm enthusiast. The creature's bluish crystalline exterior did little to mitigate the bubbling nausea I experienced when I imagined all 32 inches of it squishing around in some poor cow's intestines. No, I was enraptured by the idea of it being one of a kind. That idiosyncratic quality struck a chord with me. It made the creature seem powerful and oddly important. There's only one extra long blue-tinged tapeworm, and hey, you're looking at it right now. Bow your head and pay your respect to the first and last of its kind. Not to mention the way they displaced Miss Sapphire helped romanticize the creature. Its segmented body held gracefully in the air by lines of nearly invisible string, with a watercolor illustration of a starry night attached to the inside of its glass box, acting like a scenic backdrop, which I think was meant to evoke the image of a traditional Chinese dragon flying over the countryside, rather than a parasite swimming through filth. And that's just a sample. There's the blackened bones of a man and a boy, which presumably fell from the sky and landed in our town back in the 80s, although no one actually witnessed the descent. No missing person reports could explain them. No commercial or private planes were traveling overhead early that morning. A young woman, Erica, discovered the skeletons as she was walking her dog. As dawn broke, she saw them lying side by side on the curbside emporium's front lawn, holding hands, vacant sockets peering up, unseen. Onlookers assumed they were father and son, based on the size difference. their clasped hands and their narrow hips. Once the sheriff had been sufficiently convinced that they represented something anomalous, rather than something acutely murderous, the strange bodies were added to the collection, and since Erica was the first to lay eyes on them, Mr. Baker granted her the distinct honor of naming them. She went with the first thing that came to mind, cheerfully admitting her lack of creativity. Thus, she christened the bones Atticus and Finch, having just finished To Kill a Mockingbird for high school English. Of course, Atticus and Jem would have been technically more appropriate given that the remains were canonically related, a father and his son, but she claimed those names didn't feel right. No one pushed back against the decision. She found them, so the responsibility of naming them was hers and hers alone. You can do it now, Bella. One hand here, and one hand here. There's a framed black and white photograph showing a farmer listed simply as Jim, leaning on a downturned pitchfork planted in the ground like a flag, beside a small circular patch of earth, blurred with motion, as if spinning. He named the phenomenon flush dirt, on account of the soil's torrent-like churning. Supposedly, his boots sank into it like quicksand when he stumbled upon the anomaly. Only lasted for a day or two before the ground's physical properties spontaneously reverted to normal. You're welcome. There's Philip and his wooden flute that, for a brief time when played, supposedly emitted noises that sounded like human speech in an unknown language, rather than its normal whistling. More than a little disturbed, Philip happily gifted the instrument to the curbside emporium, but refused to play along the tradition, offering no name for the anomaly. According to the mythos, when Mr. Baker prompted him a fourth time, unwilling to take the thing off his hands without a name, Philip replied, "Listen, I don't want to." From then on, the flute became known as "Listen, I Don't Want To," which had an oddly appropriate ring to it, given the backstory. Every bit of it was magic, every story, every relic, every inch of that place spoke to me. So, when I was finally old enough to wander about town without supervision, my mission became clear. I was going to find something anomalous. I was going to have a plaque with my name carved upon it. I was going to earn my place in the showroom. In the end, I succeeded in achieving those goals, but only partially. I discovered something wildly inexplicable, a story worthy of Curbside Emporium. I don't believe I'll be getting my plaque, though. Not the way I imagined, at least. Let's see how much longer this is. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. I really hope it picks up a bit. I'm not a fan of the writing style, but we already started, so we're going to continue on. Yeah, no, I intend to. When I first conceived of my so-called expeditions, they were not such a lonely affair. Sometimes I had more than a dozen kids following my lead, digging holes, overturning rocks, looking towards the sky for the first glimpses of more heaven-rejected bones, hoping to catch wind of an oddity. For them, though, it was a fad, something to be discarded once a new, shinier hobby came along. Years passed, and the team shrank. The number of kids I considered friends dwindled into the single digits. By the time I turned 10, I was just me and Riley, and he only came because I was so insistent. Eventually, even Riley had become fed up with the pursuit, but unlike the others, we remained friends, despite our diverging interests. Honestly, my parents were more worried about my social situation than I was. You love the story, you've read it many times. How does it end, Bella? Enlighten me. I'm calling BS. I don't think you've read it at all. When I'm not going to get jump scared by the deepness of your voice. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. What's up, got a wife? It's been a while. And hi to you, Cheerio. Cheerio. They didn't want to witness their son tread the path of the outcast, consumed by what they considered to be a fruitless passion. Sure, I missed the banter, missed the sense of belonging. The rejection was more than a little painful. There was an upside to the solitude, though, something I didn't mention to my parents. I don't think anyone cares about when most people are doing something else when they listen. That just means I'm right. Wife like waif. Oh, not wife. Wife. Waif. My bad. Listen, I hope to remember. I will likely forget. But for now, I'll do my best to remember. And thank you very much for the I believe it's a corgi. Thank you. If I were the only person on an expedition, that meant I didn't have to share credit when I inevitably found something. More black space for my name, more glory for me. I could tell wait, I nearly slammed my tablet against my nose from shock. Oh no. That's bad. I'm happy you didn't though. I could tell my fanaticism scared them. It was in the way their faces contorted when I gushed about Curbside Emporium. All shifting eyes and half smiles, like they didn't want to support the hobby, but they didn't want to strike me down either. Unspoken prayers that the fire would go out just as long as they didn't have to give any more oxygen. It certainly didn't soothe their concern when I returned from one of my first solo expeditions with a discovery in my backpack, beaming with pride. I can't believe it. Honestly, I can't believe it. But I think I found something. The first of its kind. Do you have Mr. Baker's number? I need to donate it right away before it gets rotten. I'm going to name him Volcano Bug, I think. The blunt but forceful odor of decay exploded from my backpack as I unzipped it and unveiled my discovery. Reluctantly, I allowed my father to examine the dead critter, holding it upside down by the tip of the tail and spinning it. Good luck with Korean. Dad, enough. We gotta call him. We have to call him quick, I pleaded. If it wasn't obvious from the specimen alone, the shrill anxiety creeping into my voice likely gave me away. Needless to say, we didn't phone Mr. Baker regarding the salamander corpse, imperfectly coated in Sharpie ink. Later that evening, when my tears had dried, I admitted to drawing over the creature's skeleton posthumously, desperate to find an anomaly at any cost. The only thing that saved me from a much more significant punishment was that they believed me, or mostly believed me, when I claimed that I hadn't killed the lizard specifically to fuel the lie, which was true, by the way. I'd stumbled upon the body, face down, stuck in the small crevice between the sidewalk and the nearby dirt. From there, the scheme crystallized quickly. I feverishly went to work, watching myself scrape the marker over its brittle flesh like my mind was outside, my body lost with some terrible fugue state, a soul possessed. So, when I found my anomaly, as opposed to fabricating one, I knew I had to be absolutely, irrevocably sure of its strangeness before I told anyone else, especially my parents. That discovery would come 4 years later. I was trekking alongside the eastern edge of town, engulfed in the song Zero by the Smashing Pumpkins, blaring from my new wraparound headphones, a gift I had received for my 14th birthday the week prior. Technically speaking, I shouldn't have been searching there. The strangeness of my hometown did not immunize it from the life's harsher realities. We, like many of Pennsylvania's small communities, struggled with heroin abuse, and the poor souls who succumbed to the drug siren call insulated themselves on our town's eastern perimeter, injecting within the safety of its rundown infrastructure. My parents forbade me from wandering around that area, especially since I was alone most of the time. Naturally, I still searched the eastern side of town periodically, ignoring the agreed-upon restriction without a second thought. How could I resist? To know that there was a part of town unexplored, potentially harboring an anomaly, that would have driven me up a wall, and I couldn't limit my search. That said, I didn't want them to worry, so I pretended to honor their request. When I found it, it wasn't what I expected. It couldn't be seen. Couldn't be heard. No, my beautiful anomaly was something you felt. The air was cool, but it seethed with the hidden electricity of an impending storm, though the sky was bright and cloudless. The soles of my feet ached from traversing the crumbling sidewalk with its uneven cracks and jagged slopes. The nearest house was a quarter-mile down the road, an empty ranchero with mostly boarded-up windows that served as a map marker. Once I reached that dusty ghost of a home, even I knew it was time to turn around. I was gazing up at the sky, that perfect, empty blue abyss, when I felt it. All of a sudden, my heartbeat turned rapid. Wild, boundless fear gnawed at the base of my skull. Sweat dripped down my torso by the bucketful, pouring from me at a rate which seemed liable to send me to the hospital, critically dehydrated, starved kidneys screaming for water. It was also automatic. I leapt backwards, sneaker catching on a crack in the terrain, nearly causing me to tumble into the broken ground butt first. My mind attempted to catch up with my body, scanning the horizon. I was hunting for whatever threat had sent my nervous system into a manic overdrive. A flock of blackbirds called somewhere above me. Wind blustered over my skin, turning my sweat icy. Electricity writhed within the atmosphere, making the hairs of my arms stand at attention, but there were still no visible signs of an imminent storm. No visible sign of anything, actually. The entire scene was motionless, bland, and docile. It didn't make sense. It didn't match what I felt. Where was the danger? What in God's name had I just become attuned to? And that's when it hit me. Pangs of excitement thumped within my chest. Whatever this is, it could be my anomaly, I thought. So, against my instincts, I crept forward, tiptoed over the weeds springing from the shattered sidewalk slowly, carefully. My fear rose accordingly. Every step inspired another ounce of terror, but for the life of me, I couldn't determine why. One more step, and my hands trembled. Two more steps, and my vision softened, blurring, dimming. Thank you, Sue. I don't know if you're here now, or if you're just, if you're here but not listening. But, proud of you. Proud of you. And I can't wait for a few hours. Yay. You did good, lady. I don't know how it went, but you did good, because I know you. If you can, if you want, or maybe you shouldn't, little nap when you get home, if you're not already there. 3 more, and I had reached my limit. I physically couldn't force myself further. Once again, I scanned my surroundings. It must be right here. If I can't push myself forward, this is it. It's gotta be right in front of me. I peered down. At first, all I saw was normal. A thoroughly unremarkable square of sidewalk, but that's just it. The concrete was normal, uncracked, clean. No invading shrubbery, no cigarette butts, no round crystal shards that once formed a beer bottle. It was perfectly normal, so much so that it was distinctly out of place. I squatted down, sat on my haunches, and expected it closer. Fair, lady. Fair. I watched the damn thing like I was waiting for it to flinch, and thus would be required by the laws of the cosmos to divulge its arcane secrets. After 10 minutes, my gas started to burn, so I sat down and crossed my legs, still observing the potential anomaly with a retrospectively embarrassing level of intensity, never once letting my eyes wander. Hours passed, The perfect sidewalk refused to flinch, and I still couldn't sleep on it without experiencing immediate mind-melting panic. Trust me, I tried. As the sun dipped down, threatening night, I considered leaving, but the story of Jim and his flesh dirt flashed through my mind, and I recalled his phenomenon had spontaneously disappeared after a day or so. Yeah, it's on Reddit, Bella. You found the story. You've been searching this entire time, and you found the story, and you scrolled to the end. It proves nothing. The fact kept me tightly glued to the ground. I wouldn't allow it to slip through my fingers. The thought of missing my opportunity, like Bella just did, made me feel decidedly ill. I just needed to figure out what I was looking at, or, at the very least, determine how to document it. As if the universe heard my prayers, a line of black ants emerged from the dirt and began silently traversing the blemish-free concrete, seemingly unbothered by what was holding me back. I watched them with bated breath. They started their march at the left-hand corner, closest to me, continuing diagonally across the sidewalk. Suddenly, the one leading the charge pivoted course, although there was nothing blocking their path. The turn was awkward, unnatural. The insect reared on its hind two legs and spun its body 90 degrees to the right. When the ants trailing behind the first reached that same spot, they pivoted too, identically. I sprung to my feet, biting my nails, starstruck by what was transpiring. The strange pivots continued, all sharp and unprompted. Each mirrored the insect that followed. After a few minutes, a black shape began to materialize. This half-circle, with two stout pegged protrusions outlined by the procession of living dots. More soldiers crawled from the grass, and more of the image emerged. Eventually, the last line dragged itself from the earth and onto the concrete. To my absolute astonishment, they seemed to have the perfect number of volunteers. When the last ant pivoted, the first was there to connect them all together. The shape was complete. The march stayed strong and the pivots continued, so the shape never lost its form. An oval with 3 closely clustered pegs on top and 2 more distantly spaced pegs on the bottom. A 5-toed cog, twisting with the belly of some divine machine. The whoosh of a passing trunk sundered my hypnosis, and I came crashing back into reality. Just seeing it wouldn't be enough. I needed proof. I bolted towards home. I figured I could spare the few seconds required to keep my parents off my back when I didn't come home that night. I swung open the screen door and screamed, "I've been staying at Riley's tonight." I didn't stay for the response. Both cars were parked in the driveway, and one of them must have heard me. Plus, they'd been pestering me to spend more time with friends anyway. I doubt they would have told me no. As the orange glow of the twilight began to dim, I sprinted to Riley's. He was the only person I knew who owned the camera, and the only person who still had a faint, lingering interest in Curbside Emporium. I was confident I could convince him to lie to his parents, tell them he was sleeping at my house. With a seemingly heavy heart, he trudged from his stoop to grab a digital camera, agreeing to accompany across the town in the dead of night. Because of me, he'd never return home. Because of my obsession, he would never sleep in his own bed again. I used to feel ashamed about my involvement in his disappearance, though, as of late, I don't know that I have regrets. Don't know that I have any regrets at all. Yeah, it doesn't really count, Bella. You had the chance to do it, but you found it on Reddit. And you scrolled to the end. Yeah, you're a little bullshitter, aren't you? Shape made of ants? Riley asked. voice dripping with sarcasm. Grass crunched beneath their boots. The moonless night provided meager illumination. Still, I could tell Riley was smirking like an idiot. "Listen, it'll make more sense when you see it," I replied, but he cut me off. "Was the shape a middle finger?" "That would scare me too." I sighed, but threw a sheepish grin. "Well, yeah, how'd you know?" I chuckled and gave him a gentle push. "Ow, dude, watch it. Collarbone," he remarked theatrically. "God, man, that was 2 years ago. When am I finally going to be let off the hook?" Never. The fracture may be healed, but my mental scars, Lord have mercy, they ache," he said, adopting a southern twang for the last few words. Riley was tall, athletically gifted, and, as far as I could tell, fairly handsome. He had all the ingredients to develop social standing. Because of that, I wasn't too surprised when he started phasing himself out of my expeditions. A tiny bit hurt, yes, but not shocked. Used to scroll no sleep when I had insomnia episodes. Don't worry about it. You don't have to summarize anything. It's really easy to find something. Plus, this was written 2 days ago. So, you just sit back and relax. And don't spam. We'll have to time me out. Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Let me mute so I can cough. There we go. Riley was a good friend. He wanted to keep me around, in spite of my desperately uncool interests. So he browbeat me into attempting some more mainstream hobbies. To that end, his family took me snowboarding in the Poconos one winter. I was a mess on the slopes. Crashed into Riley and sent him chest first into the trunk of a tree, turning its collarbone into rubble, shattering the bone into 8 distinct pieces. From then on, we agreed to keep our hobbies separate while remaining friends. Common ground be damned. Thank you, Simp. I appreciate you. Maybe if you weren't so menopausal, the bone wouldn't have completely disintegrated. Thing's brittle as hell. I mean, 8 screws? Really? You need 8 screws to hold that toothpick together? He pushed me back, laughing. For a moment, I forgot about everything. Curbside emporium, the relentless pursuit of strangeness to call my own, the ants in the shape of the sidewalk. For once, I wasn't trapped in the endless labyrinth of obsession. I just felt warm. Unabashedly, transcendently warm. Which made what Riley said next hurt that much more. Yeah, well, at least I don't spend my free time walking around town by myself searching for make-believe like a loser. Based on his inflection, I don't think he intended the statement to be so pointed. A slip of the tongue. Regardless, the damage was done. I said nothing in response. We were close to our destination. I put my head down and just kept walking. For all his positive traits, Riley had one major flaw. He was stubborn to a fault, and prone to doubling down. Oh, come on, man. Don't be a baby. You have to know that it's fake. No scientist is gonna verify that. Whoever owns the place doesn't let anyone test the stuff, like a real museum. It's not just, I don't know, smoke and mirrors, sleight of hand. It's a trick. Dejection curled in my gut like decades-old milk, transforming into an emotion I had never felt before. Rage. You'll see, I whispered. Then I ran ahead, out of the grass and onto the sidewalk. We were only a block away. The most vulnerable piece of myself needed to beat him there, confirm it was real, which would mean that it was all real. Then Riley would have no choice but to eat his words. My sneakers squeaked against the uneven concrete. Crisp night air inflated my lungs by the gulp fill. Static electricity sizzled over my exposed skin. As I felt the faintest echo of fear, I began to slow my pace, sprinting to jogging to just plodding forward while breathing heavily. The fear rose, seething, setting my blood on fire. Eventually, abruptly, I hit an impasse, physically incapable of pressing forward, and there it was, a perfectly normal slab of concrete, a lonely raft adrift to sea of decay. But there wasn't a single ant to be seen. Welcome back, Stilly. Welcome back. Our Sue was here too. She has just finished her first day, and it sounds like it was rough. But I'm gonna project and say rewarding as well. I felt myself deflate. I could practically hear my confidence hissing like a tea kettle as it leaked through my pores, rising into the night, never to be seen again. Before I could sink too deep in the mires of self-loathing, something startled me. From about 50 feet away, Riley was shouting, but the message made no sense. Hey, who was that? Quickly, I spun around. I did a full 360 rotation. There was the boarded-up house at the end of the road, the field we'd been seen walking through to arrive at the eastern edge of town. The flickering street lamps meant nothing else. Not a soul to be seen anywhere. You alright? He bellowed. Seriously, who is that standing behind you? A little delirious, I shrugged, chuckled, cupped my hands over my mouth and shouted back at him. Genuinely? I paused for a moment, panting. I have no idea what you're talking about. He started barreling towards me, shoulders angled like a quarterback, and all I really felt in that moment was disorientation. That changed once Riley was close enough that I could appreciate his expression under the sickly glow of street lamps. His eyes were wide. His skin had turned table salt white. The muscles in his face looked taut, almost spastic. Riley was terrified. 360, not 180? Yeah, 360, so I don't care much for the story, but we've committed to it, and then we're gonna finish it. You always finish something you start. Ooh. I'm sorry to hear that. The first day was rough, but congrats on first day. I'm sure that it was just first day problems, not the constant. Thank you, Stilly. Thank you. I'm sure she knows that too. And I have my little reminders that I'm going to be drilling into her in many different ways. We don't always finish things we start. Sometimes it's more fun that way. Wait, we're not on the same page then. Because, ooh. This story is always great. This one's... yeah, it is what it is. You like the story? That's good. That's good. I'm happy you're at least enjoying yourself and enjoying the story. That's what matters. That's what matters. Okay. There's still a bit left, but we're almost done. So, let's finish up. Moreover, he could see someone on the sidewalk beside me. Someone who made him worry for my safety. Someone who looked dangerous. Right as it all began sinking in, there was a shift in Riley's demeanor. In the blink of an eye, he had stopped charging, sprinting with abandon one moment, walking gingerly the next. His panic disappeared, leaving his face unsettlingly blank. My head swiveled between the perfect sidewalk and my friend, side to side, back and forth, trying to understand what he was witnessing and what it was doing to him. He was about to pass right by me when I put my hand on his breastbone and held him there. His heart rate was slow, downright languid, but it was incredibly forceful. Each beat practically detonated inside his chest, pulses reverberating up my arm every few seconds. What's happening, Riley? I pleaded. His eyes were open, but only slightly. He's been waiting for me, he stated. Words failed me. It felt like my throat was caving in on itself. The five-toed man says it's my time. I kept my hand on his chest, clasped his wrist in my other hand, and gently began tugging him away. Riley, this was a mistake. We need to go. Briefly, it seemed like I was making headway. Although his eyes remained fixed on that perfect bit of sidewalk, his legs were moving with mine, away from whatever was luring him closer. And then, I heard the last thing he ever said to me. Don't worry. It'll be your time soon enough. He gripped his digital camera tightly, like it was a stone, and in one smooth motion, sent it crashing into my head. I collapsed, falling from the sidewalk onto the road, groaning, vision swimming. A sticky warmth trickled down my temple. When my eyes focused, all I could see was the night sky, moonless and grim. Riley grabbed my hands and dragged me off the street, back onto the sidewalk, laying me at the foot of the anomaly. The five-toed man, like an offering. The word wait quietly spilled from my lips, but it fell on deaf ears. All of the silhouette of my best friend's blood-stained camera over his shoulder. I didn't feel the impact. The world just faded away. When it came to, it was morning. The woman who owned the town's pharmacy was kneeling beside me, asking what happened, asking if I was all right, her truck idling nearby. Memories of the night before trickled in painfully. A cheese grater rubbing against my concussed brain. Where's Riley? I muttered. Before the ambulance arrived, I was able to get myself upright. I stumbled to where I thought that perfect bit of sidewalk was, but to my horror, there was nothing. All the concrete was equally dilapidated. Whatever had been there before I was gone. Later that week, I found myself in a police station being interrogated about Riley's disappearance. What drugs were you both on? I stared at the officer wide-eyed in disbelief. We weren't on anything. I haven't even had a beer before, let alone drugs. He clicked his tongue and shook his head. Really? Y'all were sober? Sober on the east side, taking pictures of yourself in the middle of the night? My heart fell into my stomach like an anvil. What do you mean, pictures? What's up, Nix? How long do I plan on going for? I am not really sure. Like normal, there's no real plan. I know that I'm getting a bit tongue-twisted and tongue-tied, so this might potentially be the last one. There might be one more. Could probably be around 30 minutes to an hour, if I had to guess. Unsure. If you have somebody that is going to be streaming for a long time that you want to watch, though, and you're going to bed, feel free. I'm not going to be hurt, and it's nice to see you. He pulled 4 high-quality printouts from a manila envelope and threw them in front of me. They were all almost identical. We were standing on the sidewalk, arms around each other's shoulders, looking into the lens, only visible from the waist up due to the way that the shots were angled. Looking at the empty air above our shoulders made me squirm. In each picture, Riley's face was concealed behind what appeared to be a motion blur. My face, on the other hand, was clearly visible. I was smiling, blood streaks glinting against the camera's flash. Who could take thousands of pictures like these sober? My voice trailed off. Finally, he asked the question that plagued my broken psyche for decades. Who's behind the camera, taking the photos? Who else was with you that night? To the officer's frustration, to my parents' utter disappointment, and to Riley's parents' absolute indignation, I didn't have an answer. I didn't have a name to give. I still don't. So I said nothing. Riley was pronounced legally dead 2 years later. The town assumed he got caught up in the drug trade somehow, kidnapped and killed because he owed the wrong person money. I knew that wasn't true, but I couldn't provide a better truth, so that became a story. But I think I found that better truth. It was inside the curbside emporium all along. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I attended my cousin's wedding in Philadelphia a few months back. I hadn't planned on attending. As soon as I turned 18, I left Pennsylvania with no intention of returning. And out of the blue, though, my cousin called me, practically begged me to attend, claiming the family had missed me, so I relented. It sure didn't feel like anyone missed me at the wedding, though. Everyone leering in my direction with an all too familiar look of thinly veiled disgust. Even my cousin seemed surprised to see me, which was a little bizarre. Only got more bizarre when I thanked him for convincing me to come at the reception. He denied ever calling me in the first place. From there, though, it was already too late. The seal was broken. My trajectory felt inevitable, no matter how much I wanted to resist. Yesterday, I handed Mr. Baker a $100 bill, pulled back the curtain, and walked into the showroom. It wasn't so bad. Not nearly as bad as I imagined it would be, I guess. In fact, the nostalgia was sort of sedating. I took my time wandering around. It wasn't all exactly as I left it. I even grinned when I passed by Miss Sapphire. Eventually, I found myself in front of Atticus and Finch, those black and anomalous bones that seemed to fall from the sky in the 80s. It was never my favorite exhibit, so I had no intention of lingering, but a faint shimmer caught my eye. I tried to ignore it, but I still ended up standing in front of the glass, squinting at the shimmer. Don't know how long I just stood there, eyes glazed over and catatonic. I never noticed the shimmer before. It certainly couldn't have been new. How could I have never noticed it before? I rubbed my eyes, meshed them around in their sockets until their soft jelly hurt, even slapped myself across the face once. No matter what I did, though, the shimmer didn't change. The light was reflecting off something buried in Finch, the smaller of the pair. A gleaming drop of silver jutting slightly from his collarbone. There was no denying it. It was a screw. My neck creaked forward, and I was standing in such a way that my reflection overlapped with the other, larger skeleton Atticus. We seemed to be a perfect fit. I haven't slept since, and I know I'll return to the east side of town. Eventually, I will. Because it feels like it's about my time. The five-toed man is going to make something out of me. Something important. Never got a name on the plaque. But I suppose in a way this is better. Honestly, I'm just happy to know that I'll be with Riley again. We'll fall through the atmosphere together. Land in front of Curbside Emporium together. And maybe, if I'm lucky, if Riley has forgiven me, the sky together, and I will feel perfect warmth again. Stilly, that sucks. You backhand the child. You teach that child a lesson that they won't remember for the rest of their lives. You don't fist someone's sundae. And you make the mom eat the child fisted sundae. And I don't know. I'm irritated now. Jesus Christ. This is why I eat in my car. But no, I treated myself to pizza and ice cream at Sam's Club because it's cheap. And this happens. Yeah. Dump it on his head. Don't dump it on his head. Don't slap the child either. That'll get you in so much more trouble. But, for funsies, dump it on his stupid little head. Shake your fist at the sky. And curse loudly. That sucks so bad, buddy. F. What? Like she even took a brownie in the grab. What? Oh, okay. Listen, I don't know how much time you have. I don't know how much time you have. If you want to be especially petty, the brownie's for the kid, right? If you see that kid eating the brownie, or you go out and yeah, you snatch the brownie, you eat that brownie. That brownie is yours, okay? I'm going to be very clear. That brownie belongs to you now. And you make sure that... You make sure he knows that. Well, exactly, without blinking. Straight eye contact. Maybe even have the sundae there. Dump it on his silly little head. Eat his brownie. And punch his mom. I don't, don't do that for real, though. And I'm not responsible if you do. Your actions are your own. I can't hit children when I'm wearing the work vest. Fair. Valid. I'm so sorry that happened, but also that's extremely funny. It's definitely like one of those things that if you're witnessing it in a TV show or something, it's fair. It's fair. It's funny. But to have that happen to you, especially when you want to treat yourself, that sucks so bad. They can't be older than 8. Listen, you're never too young to learn lessons. I've learned some harsh ones. I'm gonna stop. I don't condone abusing children for being little shits. But do your job, parents. Do your job, parents. Okay. Let's see. I want to find at least a short story. Paper play? Sure. Let me actually mute and just bring the mic down a little bit so it's easier. It doesn't cut off my model tracking. Okay, you should still be able to hear me a little bit. The lady at the counter, what happened? Fair. I would definitely. That's the right reaction. The model still died anyway. Oh god. I just smacked some shit. move the mic back up. Okay. Alright. Thank you for the stretch, Dilly. Let's see. Let's see how long this story is. It's too long. How about something shorter? You know what? Maybe I'll just. I think I'm gonna hum for a brief moment. I think that's what we'll do. Eggie has her lunch coming up soon, so I'll just have lunch with her. Let me turn the volume up on the music though. Nice. Good job on the Sunday. I'm gonna turn it back down. We're gonna go to the lo-fi jazz is a little bit easier. But we got ads. Okay. Okay, that's enough. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. All right, I think we're gonna call it. I think we're gonna end it here. It was nice to see you guys. I had fun. Happy to be back to them streamies. And yeah, we have no one that's doing ASMR that we can raid, so we won't raid. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow at roughly 9. I'm off the next 2 days, so I might miss tomorrow as I plan to wake up naturally. Hey, listen, get that sleep. It's good. Don't even worry about it. I'll be around. Bye-bye.
today.